Really depends on what you're looking for in an antenna, but I like the ruggedness of this one for sure. Hey there, everybody, and welcome to Nuka Vault Readiness, the channel helping you prepare for a grid down apocalypse. Today, we're going to be looking at different antennas. Simple video today, and I've gotten a couple questions about what antenna should I use if they just bought a radio. So I thought I'd make a real quick video on some starter ones. They're definitely better than the rubber ducks that you get in your box. So by no means will this be an extensive, in-depth video about the science behind antennas, how gain works, wavelengths, and all that. This is going to be a video for those assuming you know somewhat about how antennas work. Everything else will be for a later video. We'll definitely kind of deep dive into the science behind them. It's something that I've kind of picked up in the aspect of the amateur radio hobby, is building and experimenting with different antennas. So without further ado, so this is, of course, everyone's favorite, the Baofeng UV5R. Behold its beauty and its bask in its glory. Everyone loves this, everyone hates this radio. But I'll tell you what, you need one in your toolbox for multiple reasons, and that's for a different video. Right somewhere up in there. So when you get a radio, whether it is a baofeng, a TID radio, TID radios, how some people like to call them, your Quashangs, even Yaesus, anything like that. All HTs are going to come with, the radio, battery, that stylish wrist strap, which I do not have, and of course your, what we call a rubber duck antenna or the stock antenna. And it simply screws in. And for most baofengs, of course, this is called an SMA male connector. It has the little pin right in there, the little brass pin. And most of the antennas you get, again on baofengs, are SMN females. So, this is pretty much what comes in it right here. It's not very flexible at all. It has some give and some bend, but not much. I am pretty sure you could snap this in half easily. I've never taken one of these apart just to see what's inside this plastic. I do think most of it is just hard plastic, and then there is copper running straight down, and it is usually wound somewhere around here in this connector area. You can look them up. There's quite a few people who have taken these apart, and you can see what's on the inside and how this antenna works. So, for a little bit of science here, this antenna on your radio provides no extra gain. And what gain is when you're looking at upgrading an antenna, we'll say that your radio does 5 watts of power. This antenna right here does not help increase the reception on the other party's end like you have a more powerful radio, if that makes sense. This is how gain works. So this does not give you any gain. Some of these other antennas right here give you a bit of gain, which means on the receiver side, whether this is going through a repeater to someone else or you're talking simplex, your little 5 watts may come through a bit clearer on the other end like you're using more power. That's how gain works. It does not increase the power of your radio, but from the receiving end, it sounds like it could be coming from a more powerful radio. I hope I put that in the best sense possible for a layman's explanation. Again, it's a whole topic in itself, and we'll get to later on. So, some of the questions I've had, of course, is what antenna would you suggest when you get a radio? Show you these beginner 3 that are price point friendly, and in my book, some of your best starters you should get. First off, we'll start with is the Nagoya 771. Specifically, I think it's called the Nagoya NA-771. It is a VHF and UHF, so this works for your handy talkies on 2 meters and 70 centimeters, which is the 140 megahertz up into the 440, 450 megahertz ranges. This is also an SMA female. It's going to be kind of hard to see here. And as you can see, it's quite a bit longer. I think it measures in about 15.5 inches. And inside this is mostly just shrink wrap around this. I believe it's a thicker copper right in here. I'm pretty sure that's how these are. This is just a thicker copper that they put different layers of heat shrink on until they get to, I gotta keep turning around, it's too large to push back there, to this plastic point here. And inside, of course, is the connector. And then there's a bit of plastic in here too, which has to do with how the copper is wound in here and wired, that gives this its dual band frequency ability. Most antennas, when they are vertical like this, go on the radio, vertical antennas like this, most of them are made for a single band. And so there is a way that electrically, with copper, they are made longer. So you have to wind them up, and there are certain connections and other ways that makes it usable on two different bands. So this is the first one. So the Nagoya NA771 is 15.5 inches. It can handle a maximum power output of 10 watts, which most of your handy talkies are not going to put out more than 5, maybe 8 if you've got a really good one. This is a quarter wavelength on the 2 meters, and it's about a half of a wavelength on the 70 centimeters. And so its gain is 2.15 decibels on 2 meters, or a 3 decibel gain on 70 centimeters. And quickly, I'll tell you, when you see gain in decibels, that does not mean it's 2.15 times the power on the receive end, or 3 times the power. The decibel measurements for gain is a logarithmic function. So 2 does not equal 2 times, 3 does not equal 3 times. And most of what I've seen used in amateur radio is, or the easiest ones to remember, is 4 dB gain. When you're looking at ratings, 4 dB gain is twice your power. 6 dB gain is, make sure I get that right, 4 dB is twice your power, and 6 dB is 4 times your power, and 10 dB is 10 times your power. Again, as you can see, that doesn't quite make sense if you're just going 2 from 6 is actually quadruple the power, then 6 to 10 is 10 times the power. Again, it's logarithmic, and there's a science behind it, but we're not diving into that today. So, back to the Nagoya. This is a great starter upgrade. I think it's $20 on Amazon. I will do my best to put the links either in the pinned comment, or I'll just put straight into the description of the video. So this is the one I always got with my first couple of radios when I wanted to have a few extra and upgraded from stock antennas, was I got the Nagoya 771s. And they're pretty universal again with most baofengs, and I believe quashangs as well. Not too much on the Yaesus if you're getting, of course, better equipment such as a Yaesu and an ICOM. I think a lot of those use BNCs, or sometimes the SMAs are flipped, like the antennas for Yaesus, I believe, are males, and there's a female on the radio. So that's the Nagoya. Next one here is called Abbree. That's Abbree. And this is their AR-771. So Nagoya and Abbree, both called 771s. This is also a dual bander. It's made for 2 meters and 70 centimeters. This one also has a 10 watt output handling. Again, it's quarter wave on one, half wave on another. And across the board, this is rated at 2.15 dB gain. Not sure what that is logarithmically, but again, it's not going to be a lot of extra oomph to your top handy talkies. So also about $20. So it really just depends which one you want. I've heard great things about Abbree. I've used both of these, good results. And of course, everything with your comms is going to be based on location, what's between you and the receiver, you and the repeater, etc. And then the last one that I wanted to show that I also think is a great starter antenna, especially if you want something a little, I guess, more rigid. And that's another thing. You saw the Nagoya, it can bend, it's flexible. I don't know if I keep bending this 90 degrees left and right, or put it in your backpack and really have it bent all day long. Probably would destroy it over time or wear and tear. The Abbree is the same way. You see, it's quite flexible. This Abbree is different. So when you get the antenna, it comes in two parts. I'll actually go ahead and take off the Velcro strap here. Again, this is an Abbree. It's called a tactical antenna. I'm not sure if you heard that snap. Whoops. There you go. So it comes packaged in two parts. The main connector, there it is. The SMA female's right there. And this little, almost like a washer or a nut type of, just a screw in part goes in here. And then this is the antenna. And it's also, it's a bit longer than the other Abbree and the Nagoya. This is more closer to about 18 inches. But what's cool about these is they're called tacticals because they are quite rigid, as you can see. You probably can hear that pop. This is actually a tape measure. So you can make verticals out of tape measure. And again, this is just tape measure with a bunch of heat shrink over it and a rubber tip put on it. But the cool thing about these are they're compact. You can fold them over. They do come with the little Velcro strap thing here. I believe these are also closer to 20. I actually just recently got one of these because I have a larger Abbree tactical antenna. I'll actually pull that one out. This can handle up to 20 watts though, output, which you're not getting off a handy talkie. You may get it out of a mobile unit, and if you can find some way that you want to hit link up or connect some coax that's got an SMA on it, I don't know why you would, but to each his own. And again, for MCOMs, this is probably just fine. So again, 2 meter, 70 centimeter tactical Abbree. And it also has 2 meter gain is 2.15 and 70 centimeter gain is 3 dBi. So about tit for tat for all these. And not to get into it, but then you could get a Abbree tactical like this big boy. And yes, it's folded over twice. I believe it's 47 something inches when it's completely unfolded. So this is technically like a 5/8 or a 3/4 wave on 2 meters. Again, this is quite long. And it's a wave and a fuzz, I think, or a full wave on 70 centimeters. Gain on this monster, I think it was 5 dBi on 2 meters. I believe it's 5 or it's 6. So therefore it quadruples your power. And on 70 centimeters, it's just a little more than that. I think it's like 7 dBi. So it's still about 4 times your power on 70 centimeters. This can be really helpful. One time I have used this, taking it out. I was taking a camping trip up in Arkansas in a state park up there, and the local town about 24 miles or so had a repeater. I put this on my HT, using maybe 5 watts, 4 watts on 70 centimeters. And I hit the repeater on a 70 centimeter frequency, and the guy gave me a 5.758 on my signal through mountains and valleys. So it works. It's just that this is just a bit bulky to be connected to your HT as well. And some of these, I'll flip everything around here. Again, this is just like the 2 meter, 70 centimeter version with this bulky connection here. But you could see where it's maybe a little bit too much trying to hold this. I've actually used this antenna. I've hooked it up to my Big Bertha baofeng. You go check out Big Bertha's video up there. And that bulky radio can handle the weight. And again, works just fine. So, if you're really looking to get some range, I suggest one of these. These are definitely more expensive. I think these are over $30 an antenna. If I recall, it's been a while since I got this one. So, there you go, guys. A very simple upgrade that you can get that will already increase your range. There's some other tips out there. Again, this is by no means the only list out here that you can go get for starter antennas that are better than your stocks. There's also a trick called the tiger tail, which I'll get into that in another video, and it has to do with adding some extra electrical length to your radio unit itself to help your range. So if you guys found this video helpful, I appreciate if you share it. Give us some comments down below, and always be ready and always be getting ready. That's what it is. We'll catch you around next time.